Shall we begin?
Fire away.
Oh, please. Oh, my gosh. There's something wrong with you.
Isn't that something? Thank you, Minneapolis.
Holy Toledo.
You're listening to 9 to Noon.
Let's go, everybody. Let's go. Good morning.
Hashtag Fake Radio. And good morning to you. It is a Timberwolves Talker Tuesday in the neighborhood. And the neighborhood is FM 100.3. KFAN. The Timberwolves and the Suns tonight, 6:30 on KFAN. And the stars are going to shine.
Conley moves to his right, switches back left hand, spins at the free throw line, tough ball away with a shot clock buzzer, and Mike beats it with a 16-foot ball away. And with a right-handed dribble, he sees nothing but purple jerseys, three defenders on him, Naj in the corner. Oh, yeah! Buries another one! His second three of the night. He's up to 12 points. Mike Conley chasing around Grayson Allen and then Ant against Bradley Beal. Shot by Mike Conley up top for three. No, and rips around, pops out, and Nikhil is there to knock it in for two and put the Timberwolves up 29-28. The Suns have missed their last 9 shots. 9 in a row they've missed. Ant against Durant. Stops up top. Off the Gobert screen. Now on the left side. Hounded by Eubanks. Pops on a three and strokes it. He's got another one. Anthony Edwards staring down Kevin Durant, slamming his chest with his fist. It's a 13-2 Wolves run and an offensive foul. Eubanks set a screen heading to midcourt and picked off Jaden McDaniels. He'll give it back to Durant against Gobert up top. Rudy poked it free. Durant's got it. Then Ant strips him. And on a breakaway and a two-handed slam. Edwards, 33 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. And Ant registers his second steal of the night in a breakaway slam that may have sealed the deal. Timberwolves up by 20 with 3:37 left to go in game one.
That's what this team is all about, defense and working hard.
Get in here! I got one thing to say. This is when the big dogs come out. Okay? You can't roll the big dogs. Stay on the board.
Hi.
Welcome back to the show.
What y'all doing today?
Can you repeat the part of this stuff where you said all about things?
We ain't doing much over here in the neighborhood. FM 100.3, KFAN. We're howling. We're howling into a Talker Tuesday. Here's my best howl. Nordo, your best howl follows this. Howl!
That's not bad.
Couple of voice cracks there in the old howl.
All right, let's see how the puberty's going.
What do you got? Oh, the trail and the tail.
Jerkass!
You beat mine.
Oh, my God! How could he do that?
All right, 3-2. So, 6:30 tonight, KFAN, Wolves and Suns, Game 2 of the Life Changer. Squad up 1-0, thoroughly handled / throttled the series favored Suns, Saturday at Target Center. So, what are the mandates tonight? What are the mandates tonight? That can be included in the talkback machine at the free iHeartRadio app. Got a baby microphone? 30 seconds on what you expect tonight between the Wolves and the Suns. And who knows, it may be played during the Talker Tuesday presentation. Also, per the bit that has been established for the better part of 3 weeks. Free iHeartRadio app, baby microphone, 30 seconds, talk back, NFL draft-related talk, and or NFL draft-related talk, takes, tedium, tumult, and/or talkers. And I
got a couple of talkback topics.
Yeah.
That I'm going to present. The first one will be next segment during Vikes Bites.
Vikes Bites.
But yesterday, kind of a big audio day, big podcast day, big bit day as we get closer to the NFL draft. Listen, next segment, I'll have those for you.
And via the talkback for the draft or the T-Wolves and the Suns, you know how to do it on the free iHeartRadio app. From the draft perspective, the draft coverage that envelops FM 100.3, KFAN, or as the kids call it, KFAN. All that's provided by...
Yeah, all local KFAN draft coverage. Thank you, Pep's Draft House Pizza. So all draft and talkback related bits, all KFAN draft, steam and rumor mills and all of that. Thank you, Pep's Draft House Pizza.
The mandates this evening, if via hashtag faith, and we were able to orchestrate the mandates coming to fruition this evening, what would they be for the Timberwolves against a suddenly sunken Sun squad off Saturday versus our Howl, a team many in the game? Those would be those who follow and or cover the NBA, mostly nationwide, are predicting a dramatic regression to the mean is going to take place tonight for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
As good as you are on that show and everything, every time you make those type of predictions, I run right to the bank and go the other way.
That ain't my prediction. Indeed, backs are against the wall. A games are required, even if there is a tomorrow, which would be Friday in the Valley of the Sun, or the Valley of No Fun. If the Suns lose this evening, they'll be down 0-2. And indeed, they will have the metaphorical backs against the wall after providing like C games. And there still will be a tomorrow, but tomorrow will be approaching markedly more quickly when it comes to the offseason. Big contest tonight for the Timberwolves and the Phoenix Suns. Now, Senor Smiley, that would be my son, yours truly, and Senor Smiley. We will be in attendance for the game this evening. And over 17 years with Derek and I, the all-time team record when Son and I attend, 23-65.
I always love that one.
Go ahead and Venmo Derek Allen $500 and we'll stay home.
I always love that one.
I think that week in the lab has Finch and his staff playing so fast, they were ready for at least games 1 and 2. Now, obviously, it's the first of 4. But the week in the lab perhaps has Finch and his staff and them seeing things so clearly with that masterclass performance the staff and the players put on Saturday. I have a sneaky feeling the anticipated corrections have been practiced by the Minnesota Timberwolves, which means the anticipated corrections made by the Phoenix Suns, if indeed they have been practiced, then said Howl should be ready for them tonight. There is no disputing it, truly. They did a number on the Vogel bunch, and the guess is our guys at this stage of the equation, like with the next move, which would be tonight, 6:30 KFAN, Alan Horton, the Vox on lead vocals. The Bishop and the Queen, well, they know where they're going to need to travel tonight after maneuvering the castle and the pawns and everything over the weekend. So locals and nationals are predicting a Devin Booker get-off game. Now, young Devin, the former Cat, as in the Kentucky Wildcats when they used to be good, Devin can play. And the NBA world and those who follow basketball know Devin Booker can play the game at a very high level. My question would be, if they're going to force Devin Booker into a potential get-off game or craft it that way or scheme it that way, at what cost? Fewer cracks at it for Durant? You see, McDaniels, as we saw Saturday, he can handle Booker. And Edwards then will have to check Durant after starting, assumedly, on Beal, unless the way the Bishop and or Queen maneuvers in Game 2, we have a sneaky switch there. And Edwards starts on Durant and somebody else checks Beal. But Anthony did wonderful work on Bradley Beal, and then the switches came, but the shot clock was always down to like 10-9, 8-7-6. So the Suns, they had to go to tripping a little bit with all the switching. If Devin is unselfish, he'll put Bradley Beal on a potential big one this evening. That's the way I'm seeing it in the game, too. And Devin Booker, I mean, we remember him with the choice words he had for our squad a year and a half ago, right? I mean, Devin has to be unselfish. He's totally unselfish, right? He's the one a year and a half ago chided the Wolves for playing me first ball. Devin was 5 of 16 Saturday with 4 fouls. If you watched it closely, Booker went to tripping and was way off his game. The thy not I covenant is watching that one closely tonight because Devin's going to try to go out of body to put up some points and shoot better and not have as many fouls. My question is, at what cost? Because it's like the metrics with the Wolves defense, the metrics met the moment on Saturday. And here's what I mean by that. It feels like all of the prisoners of the moment, like yours truly, off that gnarly season sweep, I think we get pardoned again this evening. I mean, too much bench. Just too much bench. Now, there are things that can change this evening. Booker, Devin's fantastic. So Devin can have a wonderful game. KD is HOF. He can have a wonderful game. If you sleep on Beal, he'll put up 35 on you. I understand all of that. Not exactly sure of the Grayson Allen or Kyle Anderson inclusion at this stage of the equation, but that's something 9 to noon is monitoring minute by minute. But one thing that can't, and I just can't see changing specifically at home, is the input from the benches. It's with Nas and Slow-Mo if he goes, and Alexander Walker. It's just too much bench. And too much defense where the metrics met the moment Saturday. So I got covenant claps and props for those who felt the Wolves had the best defense in the game during the season, and they would always lay on the metrics. And I'm watching the games, and I'm like, yeah, the defense is very, 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 very good, but there's some inconsistency to it. Then yours truly would get smashed by those of the metrics mode. And when the metrics met the moment on Saturday, yours truly, the leader of the vulnerability covenant, I submit, and the white flag was hoisted. If only for a game, the metrics meeting the moment was apparent to everybody who either knows what they're looking for, knows what defense is supposed to look like in basketball with switching and getting under picks or over picks, and the anticipatory skills were as good as I've seen in 20 years. Anthony Edwards might be the best overall superstar in the series. He might be. It's age old in the NBA where you got the kids and you got the HOF. The HOFs who are near or close to the end or closer to the end than the beginning. And the ascension of Anthony Edwards, at least as of Saturday, is happening before our very eyes or our very ears if you listen to it on KFAN. But I'm not going to say Anthony Edwards is the best overall superstar in this series, a series that includes Kevin Durant. Time will tell, Davey. And that's very, very true. So some of the mandates this evening would be winning the bench battle in dominating fashion absolutely has to happen. Quite honestly, I don't see how they can't win the bench battle. There are many more mandates that we will share during the course of the radio show. I feel the Wolves get the money tonight, and maybe it's prisoner of the moment terrorism, but I don't think it's going to be close again. I mean, I'm not saying 15 or more, but I think the Wolves win this one rather handily this evening if they get close to what they put out there on Saturday, because I know what I saw in Phoenix, and I didn't like it. If Grayson Allen doesn't play tonight, Phoenix might be in a world of hurt. TimberTech and TimberTech.com, thank you for the What's on Deck 9 to noon. Vikes Bites are around the corner. Cash thing is right now. Good morning.
The Fan, along with BigDeck.com, they want to give you a chance to put $1,000 in your hand with the National Cash Contest. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword WIN. And you might win $1,000 just by using the keyword WIN at KFAN.com.
Anthony Edwards about to show Kevin Durant that Randy Moss full moon.
PA and Nordo.
That's a
Let's
nice
go,
help.
baby. We got the best team. We got the better team. Basketball's a team game. I don't care that they got 3 studs. We got the better team. We got Nas. We got Nah coming off the bench. We're going to run these cats. Let's go.
How about that howl?
Oh, man, that was a hell of a howl right there.
Yeah.
I'm going to try mine again. Howl! Oh, oh, wow. Well, closed circuit to those who got that text this morning. Your buddy's back to 100%. I'm back in the game. Let's go ahead and make it 85% after that howl and the head spin. Come on.
Welcome back, 9 to noon. Whether it's talkbacks that are howl related. What a week, by the way. How much fun is this? Whether it's NFL
Phenomenal.
draft and, of course, the Wolves very much game thus far in this series with the Suns.
Jamal Murray with the walk-off last night on the King.
Yeah, and the Wolves were up, or not the Wolves, the Lakers were up by like 15 at the half.
No.
And just limped their way to that Game 2 L. So not feeling bad for the Lakers, feeling good for the Wolves tonight. Vikes Bites, our favorite football team, also with some activities to take care of this week. The NFL draft is upon us. Vikes Bites is always brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. And you can go to the website, thousandhillslifetimegrazed.com, and you can shop online. Absolutely. A box of meat will show up on your doorstep. Learn about the process, regenerative agriculture. Learn about what isn't in the meat, which is pretty important when we're talking about the grass-fed bit. So you can do that, or you can find them at your local co-op and Coburn's location. So last segment, talking about the TalkBack app. And you can give us your best howl over the course of 9 to noon, and we're going to be playing them. You heard what the host had to offer. You heard what the producer had to offer. Give us your best there. But a couple of NFL-related talk-back topics. Now, whether it's Diana Rossini, and she was getting a little loose on the tweet machine with some nuggets that the Vikings fan base might be interested in, and I can get to those. But I found this. The biggest question that I've had, and the talkback machine is open for this. What is it worth to move up PA? Because we were talking about it yesterday. Elliot Wolf, general manager, player personnel for the Patriots. It's going to take an unprecedented deal. Okay, well, what does that mean, not only to them to move back, but how much is it worth for the Vikings to move up if we believe that they have found their guy? If Kevin O'Connell identified that guy, got to get the 3. What is it going to cost? Well, I heard this from Cynthia Freeland of NFL Network yesterday, and I'd like to play it for you. It's about a minute long.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think they'll listen to anyone, but if they do, and I actually think they should, the Minnesota Vikings would make so much sense. There's tons of reasons why, but not the least of which is both of those first-round picks. So if you look at what you'd have to potentially look at, so what I did was I took past trades and where things have netted out for a similar type of situation, and this is kind of what the haul could look like. So 3rd overall pick, you get 11, you get 23, you get the first round next year in 2025, and then some other pick in maybe a 2nd or a 3rd later round pick in 2026. So when I'm looking at the future, they could be building in a really, really interesting way. Now, that would have to make them believe that the 3rd potential quarterback off the board is not the one that they want. So that's really what it's going to come down to. But leverage is really interesting, and especially because the Broncos sort of threw this wrench in the leverage position today. That means that maybe that number 3 spot then became more valuable because now you don't have the potential to say, well, maybe I go 3 and you go 4 or 5. Now it's like, oh, we got to go up to get our number 3 guy for sure.
So that's Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network, picks 11 and 23. Next year's first-round pick, 2025.
Yep, I got it.
And then she floated a 2026 day 2 pick, so 2nd or 3rd round pick.
And the reason I was saying don't do it, because I've either read or heard 2 or 3 times this morning or yesterday for the Vikings to get up to the 3rd overall pick, 11, 23, first rounder 2025, first rounder 2026. Ouch. I'm out.
Oh my God.
Come on.
Well, and that's talkback topic number 1 is that too rich for your blood?
Wow.
So it goes back to, do you believe in Kevin O'Connell? Do you believe that they have identified the guy versus a guy? And I keep saying I believe there's a difference there in terms of this is a deep quarterback class. Just got to get one of them. this is the best system for any rookie to flourish, so you can get Knicks in the second round and you'll be just fine. If you've identified the guy, 11-23, next year's one, and a 2026 day 2 selection.
Yeah.
Would you do it? Use the free TalkBack app, hit that microphone, give us up to your best 30 seconds, and let us know whether or not you would make that deal. It's heavy. It's heavy, isn't it? Oof.
Yeah, but it's the what I've seen, and yeah, I mean that there's so much subterfuge and so many suggestions and things like that bouncing around. The ones that were pertinent to me is like, it was like Source said, the only way anybody can, like the Vikings can get up to 3 is all 4 of those first round picks. And I'm like, damn, man, I mean, that just feels unprecedented. And yeah, I mean, it's certainly the assumption is if you give up 3 first round picks, it would be the, not a. But more than that, I mean, anything much more than that. Wow, that's a lot, man.
Well, but I think a lot of this starts like the platform that you build from is whatever morsel or nugget you can get from teams. And every single team, whether it's Ortiz, I think of the name Harbaugh's guy with the Chargers, or it's Elliott Wolf, they keep speaking in the 50-50 deal, the fair trade isn't enough for us. That's what the Chargers say. Unprecedented deal.
Right.
And so when we're sitting back, well, what would that look like? What would they take? You start hearing 2026 in the mix. You start hearing 3 drafts worth of picks, and it gets a little uncomfortable quickly. So hopefully, in the end, we are all overestimating what it may actually cost.
I mean, I'm still. If the Vikings trade up for a quarterback, I find the spot to be 4. I find the most palpable, pragmatic, and realistic spot to be 4. I'm not ruling out 3, and I certainly am believing, just from discernment with no team information, that a trade up for a quarterback is the desire of the Minnesota Vikings. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, specifically with all this subterfuge selection-related stuff with which we're dealing all of a sudden.
Vikes Bites, presented by Thousand Hills Lifetime Graze grass-fed beef. So I mentioned Diana Rossini, and I saw this from an Athletic piece. She wrote, I have a list of 5 GMs who I believe need to nail this draft for their own job security, and more importantly, their team's future.
Yeah.
This Wednesday, my column will go live, but I'll give you an exclusive here. The GM under the most pressure in this draft, you guessed it, PA. It is Vikings general manager Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah.
GM is Kwesi.
What?
The GM is Kwesi. The GM is Kwesi.
You believe?
I believe.
Amen, brother.
3 years into his regime, his Vikings are 20-14, but without a playoff win. After letting Kirk Cousins walk, despite his head coach's public desire to keep said QB, Adolfo-Mensah is running out of time. This might be the best opportunity he has to add a franchise-altering passer. I expect the Vikings to do everything they can to move up on Thursday to get their guy.
Yeah.
What do you think about, ranking, rating, hot seat? Like, I look at the Giants as they enter year 3 of that regime after having coach of the year honors. What did they go, like 9-6-1 or something? Like, I forget what their record was. They beat us in that wild card game. They give a ridiculous cash to Daniel Jones, and now they're back in the QB conversation again. But it's tough to rank maybe hot seats, but Kwesi's up there, according to Diana Rossini.
Well, how? I mean, with all due respect, how is the Denver group not number 1 with a bullet and like far clear from anybody else?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a sizzling number 1. That's the verbal fire emoji when it comes to the hot seat.
Well, speaking of Denver, Vikes Bites. Denver made a play yesterday, PA. Denver traded.
Yes,
for Zach Wilson.
Right. Oh my gosh! Can you above average?
So the Denver Broncos and the New York Jets. Zach Wilson, Woody Johnson in New York. Yeah, he's not necessarily on the trading block, but he's part of the mix. Well, maybe he's not on the mix. Actually, he is on the trading block. and now he's a member of the Denver Broncos. And I know it's Jarrett Stidham. Is it Ben DiNucci? Maybe their other quarterback.
I like Stidham. I've always liked Stidham in Darnold-like fashion. Now, like the future full-time with Stidham, I can't say that I like the Stidham bit that much, but they're not in a terrible spot with Stidham.
Well, now they have Zach Wilson in the mix, and they're flipping late-round picks and splitting his roster bonus, I believe. Now, I don't think this impacts the idea of the Broncos being motivated to move up and get a QB early in the NFL draft.
Yeah.
But I actually had two different people reach out. Hey, Norda, what do you think about Zach Wilson going to the Broncos? You think they'll try to work with that current quarterback room? I don't think it changes anything.
Me either.
No, I don't.
If anything, it's a $2.5 million diversion because his deal, it's $5 million for Zach Wilson. And the anti-Vike somehow convinced the Jets to pay half of it. $2.5 million in the National Football League these days? I mean, that's pocket change.
Well, I think, and part of it, I think the Jets were happy to pay $2.5 to rid themselves of Zach Wilson. So, tough start to his NFL career. Vikes Bites!
Oh, I still very much have Denver on the desperation move-up-ometer.
Which leads us to the we have to move up, right? I mean, it becomes that, whether if you watch mock drafts or if you just follow conversations and things, and it's kind of the idea that one of these guys will drop, and they'll use historical evidence, Lamar going at the end of the first round, Vikings moving up themselves in 2014 to go back into the first round to get a Teddy. Most recently, Will Levis talked as high as top 5, ends up going on day 2, those sorts of things. That one of these guys is going to drop. It just can't go bing, bang, boom, bada, bing, and then all the quarterbacks are taken right at the top of the draft. But when you start to have 2 or 3 teams with itchy trigger fingers and some capital and a hell of a lot of desperation, seats are hot, butts are uncomfortable with both maybe the Vikings front office and certainly those in the Mile High. Who's going to be more desperate on Thursday night? Who's going to beat them to the punch? Goes back to the Vikings having the capital advantage from my standpoint.
Despite the DraftKings and or FanDuel, the draft-related wagering scheme, which generally speaking, with free agency and specifically right up to free agency or that the oxymoron, the legal tampering bit, is when there are major moves, that generally is gridiron gospel. I mean, it generally comes to fruition. Like Cousins to Atlanta was a certain number, then all of a sudden, there were murmurs and rumors that it was going to happen, and that sucker it went off the charts.
Yeah,
all the way to the other side of how heavily favored it is. So May and Daniels at the 2 spot, that there's been some fluidity and fluctuation with that. I don't know about you, man, but again, I'm just riding the instincts here, the gut vibes. The double of Williams into Daniels, I think that's the double. I mean, we've seen some money come in on Drake May, and
it was that bit where somebody was floating the idea that Daniels may not want to play. That was me. He may not want to play for the Commanders.
Wow. And
then as recently, I think even as yesterday afternoon, the idea or the steam was Daniels has accepted being the next franchise guy in Washington.
Well, it's nice of you, Jaden.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, it's, if I got a $100 bankroll, 60 of it goes on that double.
Yeah.
Williams to Daniels.
I'm with you.
So for me, and I don't really, and the top 2 I'm about to mention, there's a split here in incremental fashion. This is for my taste. This is just, off the way I do things with absolutely no team information. I like May. Then I like McCarthy. Then I like Penix Jr. Now, where they go and where you get them, that's where it just becomes goofy for this part of 9 to noon. But I mean, Drake May has been the May topic, the A topic for yours truly for quite some time. McCarthy, I didn't know as much about J.J. McCarthy as I did Drake May at the end of the 2023 season. Now I do. I love J.J. McCarthy. I think down the road, with some seasoning, get him up there to age 22, work with him with an elite staff, re-sign J.J., re-sign Darisaw. I like J.J. McCarthy a lot. If the Minnesota Vikings end up with J.J. McCarthy, I'm completely cool with that. It feels like 4. And it feels like May 3 is the May topic. McCarthy 4, if that's the bit. And Penix Jr. is around the 11 if something goes kaput with the potential of a move up. So those are my 3. What about you? Well, you like Daniels.
I love Daniels.
But see, I'm saying I'm taking him out of the
Daniels
equation.
Is out of the mix.
Well, that's what I think. But I mean, it's subterfuge season. So you're hearing, seeing, and reading like what you just said. Okay, yeah, I'd be completely accepting of being the quarterback for the nation's capital, Davy. But nevertheless, you got the DraftKings bit.
What a confidence builder into the draft, too, by the way.
Right. Daniels was incredibly heavily favored to go 2.
Yep.
Well, he came down in May, and May got money.
Right.
And May got a lot of money. Okay. Well, it's a little too far in front of the draft for me to take the significance of a prop wager that has a maximum level. Like, you can't roll in and bet $10,000 on Drake May to go second. So you have to amass a lot of whatever, 500, 750s or whatever. It's still a little too far in front of the draft for me to make that gridiron gospel. I think it's attention diversion.
Yeah.
I think it's plays into subterfuge season. So Williams-Daniels, that's my $60 double.
Williams-Daniels, I believe that's ultimately what's going to happen. And Daniels, I've talked about how high I believe his ceiling could be. I think that's a situation bit with him. He's got to find the right guy to bring that out of him. May and McCarthy, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Here's where I'm split on it.
Either one would be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me if I'm being just dumb about this and boneheaded. Because we're in the midst of talking about trading up to get your guy, to get one of those guys. And in May and McCarthy and, something weird happens and Daniels is available at 3. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm with you that he goes 2. You're talking about that. But then in the very next breath, and I don't mean you, I'm just saying, because I've gone through this as well. Well, is it then okay if you miss out on that and you just get Penix at 11? You just get Penix at 23.
But see, that plays off what you said yesterday, and I wish I had the intel you went begging for yesterday off the quarterback killer vibe.
I need to know what he thinks.
Right. I mean, like the gap between, and this is with no assumption. I mean, I can't see how O'Connell, knowing what he wants from his offense, but most importantly, what he wants from his quarterback.
Yep.
I mean, I really can't see any way he can't like May and McCarthy. I just can't. I mean, because they play May more so, but they play the way he wants to run it.
Right.
And one of the first things 9 to Noon shared about Jaden Daniels was, I mean, this is all great and everything, but how much do you have to change with the offense if you take him? And that's not a bad thing. It's like, we got Jaden Daniels. He's a stud, unbelievably good athlete. But there has to be a change to the offense because you don't want to limit what it's the meshing the player with the scheme,
right,
not forcing the scheme on the bit. I'm cool with that too, but I just don't. And this really has nothing to do with, not like overhauling or dramatically changing things last year out of a bye for Josh Dobbs, because maybe what they saw behind practice, we can run the single wing. We can steal the Ravens offense with all these Lamar Jackson plays, but eventually he's going to have to throw.
Yeah.
and we don't necessarily, we may not like that as much as people think we should like it.
Exactly.
So therefore it's not worthy of an overhaul, certainly during the course of the season. So I just can't see how O'Connell and the offensive staff with Drake May or J.J. McCarthy, how both of those guys seem to fit quite well.
I agree with you 100%.
But then you get to the killer bit you brought up yesterday. What's the gap with you got to put the injuries to the side with Penix. I mean, you either, with those 4 injuries.
I think you do. I think you're right.
He's either off a board or he's somewhere in the first round. I mean, that's generally the way people look at injuries en masse, like this young man has had.
Yep.
His age situation, I'm not saying it concerns me, but still, just when I say this, just take this in and see how it hits people. If and or when he gets his second contract as a starter or a high-end backup, he's almost going to be 30. I mean, that's up there.
Well, I mean,
but it's not a deal breaker for me.
He's not that old though. I mean, it's not Brandon Whedon when he was like 28 coming out of OK State.
Not like Buddy Hield throwing footballs.
If he works out, he's going to be in his third year. He'll be 26, 27 years old when you start talking about that next deal. So, but he's definitely older. So maybe there are more learned things that can't be unlearned. We played that audio about things he can fix or not fix as a head coach. KOC talking over the weekend.
Good point.
But that gap for me means a ton because in one breath it's like they do love May, they do love McCarthy.
I don't see how they can.
And it's been reported on widely that the Vikings are among the most active teams trying to move up in the draft. But then simultaneously, if pick 11 comes around, they weren't able to move and they pick Penix. Now it's like, we got the guy we wanted the whole time.
Yeah.
We were trying to move up for Penix, as a matter of fact. Like, it just...
Yeah, I don't care about that. I've heard that a lot. If people... When did people start to expect general managers or coaches to tell the truth on exactly what their board looks like?
No, I don't think...
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. But my point was not that I was worried about how Kwesi and the team would report on it or share with how their excitement. I mean, he's on the team. We're going to spend the summer figuring out if we need to flip tackles and what the whole thing freaking looks like.
Wow.
Do I have to watch the game in a mirror? So
left-handed bit, that's right.
The southpaw.
Yeah.
So, and what if any changes go into that? So we'll figure out how to win with Michael Penix Jr. if he's drafted. It's just it's such a stark contrast between moving up again to get your guy, so to speak, a guy that we think they love.
Yeah.
I think they love him. And then also, well, if he's available at 11 or if he's available at 23, at least we still got somebody. You know what I mean? And there's just those create two different feelings with me.
That's DNA. Yeah, right there. I mean, and that's not to say Penix Jr. is just a guy. Maybe he'll be all pro.
He could be awesome.
But again, riding the gut feelings of months of thinking about this and to a certain extent, mingling with others who would know more about it than us. I don't see how Kevin O'Connell, and knowing him and knowing what he likes to run and how he likes to do it and what he likes in his quarterback, with accuracy, a scholarly approach, an absolute desire for the game, and somebody who is willing to stay in the pocket and execute the plays. But if things break down, you have more improvisational skills with both of them than you previously had with Cuzbuzz. And Cuzbuzz was dynamite in the pocket and would move a little bit too.
Absolutely.
But these guys, I mean, these guys are on a different level when it comes to the athleticism.
It is. And this
I just don't see how it can't be those two.
And I think it's those two.
And then Keaton Slovis.
And then in the...
Why you got to knock Keaton Slovis? Didn't see him when he was 19 with those 30 TDs?
You know what? Until I've watched enough, an appropriate level of all 22 on Keaton Slovis, I'm going to withhold any judgment. But and the other thing that goes into this too is they take a Penix. This is the best situation of any of the quarterback needy teams on the front side of this draft. And I don't think it's close, whether it's the top three you're thinking about, the Giants potentially now in the mix moving up to get a QB. I got a couple other audio bits, talkback talkers we can get to later in the show as well. But the Broncos, are we a better situation than them offensively? Absolutely. Are we a better situation than the Raiders? Well, they do have that wide receiver. But I think in the end, the coaching, the scheme, all of those things, the weapons, play out in our favor. So if it ends up being Penix, you know what? 9 to Noon's going to root for him. There's no doubt about that.
Of course.
We're out of time on Vikes Bites for now, but I got a bunch of stuff for later on. Vikes Bites brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef.
We have a pick 6 of picks involving the Minnesota Vikings with a twist. It'll involve a quarterback. It'll involve 5 other draft picks with predictions, but it's a baby game, so it has a twist. And we will unveil that for you around the corner. You're listening to KFAN. looking to shake it up a little bit, thinking of some outside of the box related draft ideas. And yours truly, via an epiphany straight from the Gridiron Gospel, hit me yesterday with a pick six of picks. And here's the deal. Nordo and I are going to play a baby game. We each are drafting 6 players for the Vikings, and we operate to start as if the team traded up and we get the quarterback of our choice. So we're not playing 11 and 23 and 20, 25, 1 and 20, 26, 1, 2, 3 and or 4. We're just playing the quarterback of our choice.
Yeah.
All right. So now we eliminate 11 and 23. So then after one down, then we tackle the pick 5 as part of the pick 6 of picks, and we attack it with 5 singles, and we're going to play the ticket for $20. We're going to start in round 4, where we each will pick 5 players for the Vikings, and they have to hail from a college in the state from which the Minnesota Vikings got the pick.
Oh my God! Kirko, chill!
All right, now hear me when I tell you this in case it was a little confusing. It's with the pick 6 of picks, we are going to take a quarterback of our choice and eliminate 11 and 23. Now, 108 is a pick that belongs to the Minnesota Vikings. But for 128, 157, 167, and 177, we are required to select a player that hails from a college in the state from which the Minnesota Vikings got that pick.
Can you repeat the part of this stuff where you said all about the things?
My man, it's a baby game. It's a make you think game. And we always love that one. To wit, like the 108, 4th round, ours. 129, 4th round. Got it from the Lions in the Hawkinson trade, which means the player we slot in there had to have played collegiately at a school in Michigan. Doesn't have to be the Wolverines. Could be Sparty. Could be Western, Central Michigan. Grant Patolny, go crazy at Northern Michigan. Could be any of those. 157 we got from Cleveland as a compensatory for losing Zadarius Smith. 167 we got from KC. Now we got to find players from the state of Missouri. 177 from Carolina. So Carolina, the Panthers being based in Charlotte, that means North Carolina, even though there was a South Carolina player I really wanted to put in there, we have to stay true to the baby game in that this player has to be from a college that is in North Carolina. It's the baby game, and I'm super excited to get through it. So, like 108, I mean, holy cow. The quarterback, first and foremost, for me, if I can hand pick one and put that guy on the Minnesota Vikings, it would be Drake May. Are you in lockstep?
Let's go with Drake May.
Yeah, but are we in lockstep that if it's not Drake May and it is J.J. McCarthy, I'm cool.
I'm in on J.J. McCarthy.
I'm cool. I just really, really believe in the kid, man. I just really believe in the kid. And by the way, if KOC, like if that's his exacta or his double, and like he boxes the exacta and is McCarthy over May, cool. And that's what the assumption Daniels goes to. So those are the quarterbacks. Pick 108 is ours, so no other teams involved. So we pick whomever we want. After that, holy cow, does it get fun. And this will get us through the 6th round, which means after that, undoubtedly, they meet Atlanta in the NFC title game, and you're on your own after that. Quick aside to that. Now, I'm going to save this for Ben, this question about Cousins. Ben Gessling, Star Tribune, in studio 10 minutes from now. Let's get busy. 108, 4th round. There's no state-related college prowess required here. Who'd you take and why?
I took Mekhi Wingo, defensive tackle out of LSU. And because we moved up to get our QB,
I love that.
A lot of the big bodies in the middle, the Byron Murphys Jr., the Jerzon Newton, Chris Jenkins, your guy from Michigan.
Yeah.
Who won't be available when we pick at 129 here around the corner.
Yeah.
Mekhi Wingo, he's a little bit undersized, but absolute just run-stuffing beast. Super strong. Put him next to Harrison Phillips. Let's ride.
Yeah, I love that. And just simply from that pick, not knowing who a majority of these people are, but to mesh it with the bit, I love it because I love that position that you took. Because, like, I look back at mine at the end, and I go, like, guard, tight end, safety, wide receiver, center.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, this sucks. I mean, But then it was 8:20. And I'm like,
correct.
Like, I ain't changing it. So, this sucks. I mean, seriously, but for the purpose of the bit, 108 fourth round, no state-related school required. I'll piggyback off something I said last week. Michigan guard Zach Zinter. He's off an injury, all right? Thus the drop. Team captain, two-time All-Big Ten first team, 2 or 3. And in fact, I think he had an ACL or whatever he did for his injury.
Maybe he broke his leg or something.
In November of last year, he already had been anointed and or voted first team All-Big Ten. Offensive lineman from Michigan, offensive lineman from the Big Ten. Yes, please. Specifically when they have pedigree like this guy. Now, you might have to trade up a smidge from 108 if you dig him, but the name Chris Jenkins Jr. was mentioned. 108 is a dream. I'd love that guy, man, Chris Jenkins Jr., but that would require a trade into Friday, so I'll go with Michigan guard Zach Zinter. Now to the baby game.
Yeah.
129, fourth round. The Minnesota Vikings got this pick from the Detroit Lions in the Hawkinson trade. So that means we need a Michigan school here. I hate my pick here simply because it's not that I hate it. I mean, it makes sense a little bit, but go on and go with yours.
I'm going from Western Michigan. I'm headed to Kalamazoo, PA. Marshawn Nealand,
Well
Western
done.
Michigan. He's an edge rusher, 6'3", 270, 4'7", 40, 36-inch vertical. I'm beefing up on defense. You'll find a theme in my draft, PA.
Yeah, you're playing very fast right now.
I've never heard of Marshawn Nealand.
But from a position standpoint and to orchestrate the baby game, you're playing very fast right now.
How you doing?
I went with Michigan tight end. AJ Barner. I went with Michigan tight end. Barner.
You should have saved Zinter for the bit. It would have been so easy.
Crazy you said that because then I moved Zinter to the bit, but then I tried to put 108 in, and I had another Michigan guy. A cornerback who was a wide receiver converted to corner. He's like Penix Jr., Buddy Hield old, but he's fast, and it just felt like Flores, but then he was 5'11". I'm like, nah. So I went Zinter, and now Michigan tight end A.J. Barner. Here's the deal. He's a blocking tight end.
Hello, you're on the air.
6'6", 251, A.J. Barner. You know, Josh Oliver insurance. If and or when you look to get young and stay young.
Sorry, KFAN.
You cannot dispute that part of Kwesi Adofo-Mensah's job that has been done quite well is getting the roster younger and finding free agency money, like we might have 75 to 90 and JJ back in the mix extended next year. So it just kind of plays into the Oliver insurance.
Sorry, KFAN.
You know, we're always looking for Josh Oliver insurance. So it's a 6'6", 251 beefeater, Michigan tight end A.J. Barner. And if they take J.J. McCarthy as the first quarterback and then they go Zach Zinter and Michigan tight end A.J. Barner, we got a Wolverines covenant up in here. What's next? 157, fifth round?
157. I believe that comes from the state of Ohio. Is that accurate?
As a compensatory for losing Zadarius Smith. Cleveland Browns. Now, Nordo and I are seeing things in lockstep with this pick. Go on and give it to him.
Yeah, whether it's old QBs, I might not like older QBs. I like older safeties, as in Josh Proctor, safety, defensive back, Ohio State, PA. You know that after 6 years at Ohio State, that something eventually has to click.
Yeah.
And this 6'1", 200-pound defensive back, he might be a little older than a typical draft prospect, they say, but he saved his best football for his last season. Can't wait to welcome Josh Proctor to the Minnesota Vikings.
Like Josh Proctor and Bo Nix, they've been in college so long that I think when they got there, I had 2 chins.
Thank you, Minneapolis.
And I had like black hair and it wasn't all white.
4 TFLs in a pick.
Yeah, Josh Proctor, the way it was laid out to me, 5th round steal, SOD 157. Flores will convert him into a core backup on the back end. Will be amazing on special teams, or you stash him on the practice squad for Harry insurance. And he might be older than Harrison Smith, according to the con. Ohio State safety Josh Proctor, pick 167. Somehow we got this from KC. We are in lockstep with the next two picks for a couple of reasons. A, because of the exhaustive, arduous work we put in studying these players, but also the requirement that they come from the state from whom we got the pick, Kansas City, Missouri. So now we're both on something from Southeast Missouri State. Who is he?
His name? Ryan Flournoy, wide receiver.
Boy.
Southeast Missouri State. Quick trivia. What's their mascot?
Southeast Missouri State? Missouri Tigers. I'm going to go Leopards.
They are the Red Hawks.
Mm-hmm.
Flournoy, a stud Red Hawk, and he's going to be even better in purple.
Yeah, because of the mascot name, I think you just got canceled.
Thank you, Minneapolis.
That's all you got on Flournoy? The intel I got on Flournoy, runs like the wind. Top of route work, very solid. Chippy player in the run game.
It's tough against the press.
Needs work getting off the jam.
Yep.
And Keenan McCardell will fix that in due time.
His route running is undisciplined, but can be sharpened with work.
That's why you compensate Keenan McCardell.
That's a job for Keenan.
Right. How many catches in the Super Bowl? 2. How many touchdowns in the Super Bowl?
I believe it was 2.
2. And how come he didn't win the MVP? Subterfuge season. Ryan Flournoy, don't leave home without him. And finally, 177 from Carolina, so we got to go down Gabe Henderson way to North Carolina. We are in unison with center Dylan McMahon from North Carolina State.
Long lineage of successful centers in the NFL.
Fire away.
Hey, stop.
Hey, if you're down on Garrett Bradbury,
I'm not.
Go back to the well.
Garrett Bradbury's the bomb.
177, 6'3", 300 pounds. He's a center-only prospect. So, you know what? Use the right tool, as they say. We don't need swing flexibility. We just need a guy that can anchor down and handle business at that spot. Dylan McMahon, welcome to the team in the 6th round.
All I was told, or all I found about Dylan McMahon, center from NC State, pick 177 by way of the Panthers. Couldn't wait until the 7th round. Had to avoid the snipe.
The GM is crazy.
Yeah.
The GM is crazy.
All righty, 10:02 in the neighborhood. Ben Gessling, the scribe, covers the Vikings for profit, assumedly for the Star Tribune, and he'll be in studio next.